Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video. Today we are going to be trying out Ms. Jackie Aina'S concealer routine. Now she posted a video a while back. This is like 10 months back, so I'm a little late to this, but it was just recommended to me not so long ago on my feed, which I don't know why it was just recommended because I've been subscribed to her for quite some time and I have not seen it pop up. But anyway, it was recommended and it's titled Why Your Concealer Routine Sucks and Creases Fast. So I was curious, clicked on it. I definitely enjoy her content, so I was like, why not? Let's watch this today. And in this video, she goes into explaining exactly what she has been doing or what she was doing at that point. I don't know if her routine has changed since then because like I said, it was 10 months ago. But anyway, she goes into exactly how she's been concealing her under eye area in order to make it last, to make it really, really last. Now, I found this interesting and I wanted to try it because it's completely different from what I'm doing right now. I'm doing the whole less is more. Whereas in this video, she's doing like the more is more. You know what I mean? So anyway, I've never tried this. I've never tried anything like this. Layering concealer on top of concealer on top of concealer, which is essentially what she's doing. So I figured I'd give it a try, especially since I have most of the products that she's using in her video. I figured why not? So that is what we are going to be doing today. All right, so I'm going to sit on this side. I'm going to put her over here and we're going to follow along and see what we get. I'm really excited about this.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, Jackie Aina'S. Jaggy. I'm gonna show you basically how to elevate whatever you already do. So this is, if you're just starting out with makeup, I think this might be a little bit intimidating to you. I'm gonna try to make this as easy to follow along as possible, but it's definitely for the person who likes to wear a lot of makeup for a long periodically time. I've already primed my skin, and the reason why I have bare skin and didn't just do foundation and go right into concealer is because there is one skin prep that I really, really wanted to highly recommend, using an eye balm. Now, product right here. This is the Lancome Visionaire IU. It is an under eye balm primer, something that you can use to just make the base for your under eye really smooth, really creamy.
Okay, and I have that. I have that right here, and I hate to admit it, but I purchased it only for this video. So this better work, okay? I've been using this for like about a week. I haven't really seen a difference, but of course it's only been a week. However, it does tend to, or it seems like it does smooth out the under eye area quite a bit, quite nicely. I used to do something similar a while back, but not with an eye balm. I used to do it with a primer. So I used to use my Professional primer and I would bring it all the way up to the under eye area because I felt like it gave me a nice smooth canvas to work with. I don't know why I stopped. I honestly don't have a reason as to why I stopped. I just stopped and then I never picked it back up again, and I honestly forgot about it until I was watching this video. So I do have this though. Let's see.
I've raved about this product a lot, but I don't like to put it in every drawer because girl, not everybody has the coins for her. And she's definitely an optional, a splurge. It's not a need, it's a want. I do feel like this has been like kind of a game changer for me, and I've been using this for about 2 years now. Oh, it's just so light and fluffy. I feel like I'm touching meringue, like lemon meringue. I don't even know what lemon meringue feels like, but I feel like if it was something, it'd feel like this. Even that was a lot. I just wanted to show you guys like what the texture looked like. It's really creamy, it's really bouncy, and it doesn't all the way dry down. If you feel like you're scared that it's gonna make your under eye creasing, I don't think you'll have that problem. This is the part of the face that tends to be the driest, so the more you nurture and care for her, the more that everything you put on top of that will be well taken care of. Can we also talk about creasing? I'm just gonna be completely honest. I feel like the standards for under eye creasing are a little unrealistic. I mean, because makeup should not be used synonymously with plastic surgery. Okay, let's just remember that. If you put a product on top of an area that naturally creases a little bit, it's gonna crease.
I'm really glad that she brought that point up because it is most definitely an unrealistic expectation of makeup. Like, we cannot expect for makeup to never crease, to never settle, to never do anything other than like stay perfectly in place. That's just unrealistic because we all have different skin types, different textures, different lines that will create some sort of an issue. So I'm glad that she mentioned that because yeah, it's something that I feel like even myself, I've gotten caught up in. Like, I'm expecting products to do absolutely nothing but sit perfectly on the skin, and that's not always the case. So anyway, I'm glad she brought that up.
The point is to not fight it. It's just to work with it as much as you possibly can. You should be less concerned with literal creasing of the concealer and more concerned with the concealer moving around and not staying in place. Now we've done our foundation. So what's next?
Okay, I need to do my foundation. So I'm not going to color correct in this because she actually goes into color correcting later on in the video, or here next. So let me just apply my foundation really quickly. All right, foundation is on. Let's move on.
It is slightly darker under my eye and around my mouth area. So to correct that, I'll do a little bit of correcting. Not just one, not just two. You're gonna need 3 ride or die concealers for this technique. One that is maximum coverage, not just full coverage. Because sometimes full, like these brands are trying it with their little full coverage. If you say so, Barbara. That ain't no damn full. I mean like spackle. That's what I mean when I say maximum coverage. Great example of spackle concealer is when you pull out that Kevyn Aucoin Sensual Skin Enhancer. I usually go in with the shade SX14.
All right, so I actually have the Kevyn Aucoin concealer that she's talking about. It is quite pricey, and I've never tried it before. I only swatched it. As you can see, it's very, very creamy. The consistency is pretty thick, pretty creamy. So the shade that I have here is SX09, which looks like that. I would say that this is certainly a correcting shade for me, so this is gonna work out.
So this isn't doing anything at all but correcting and also building that layer of coverage, okay? Obviously this is a pot, so I'm gonna go in with a brush. This is the Hourglass brush. You can just use any flat, girl. It doesn't even have to be fancy schmancy because you're just gonna blend it out with the sponge anyway. I do prefer to blend my concealer with the sponge. I feel like you get the most impeccable, flawless, incredible, indubitably maximum coverage blendability with a sponge.
That I personally don't agree with. I feel like you get better coverage with a brush as opposed to a sponge, just because the sponge is automatically going to pick up some of the product. But the way that the sponge blends, the way that a beauty blender blends the under eye area is by far better than a brush. Just because with the brush, you certainly have to like take your time and you have to be very light-handed with it. You can't just like really press underneath the eyes and expect for it to blend out. That's not the way that it works, especially with these fluffy ones. I feel like the lighter pressure that I use, the better that it blends out without moving the concealer around everywhere. Whereas with the Beauty Blender, it's very, very easy to just, you know, get in there and blend it out. But I do feel like it always picks up a little bit of the product, therefore lessening the coverage. That's just my opinion. But for Miss Jackie, it works. So if it works for her, it works for her, and that's awesome.
Basically what I do is I start right, boom. You see how I have that little dark right there? Also, don't think just because I'm saying dark, it means I don't want to be dark and cover it up with undark. Don't do it. I start almost in my tear, like I'm basically in my tear duct, and I start applying that corrector shade. The reason why I apply my corrector basically right under my eye is because it's not really my complexion shade, so we don't want it to take too much real estate on the face. So I do try to keep the corrector shade as close to the eye as possible. Also, one of my problem concerns with the under eye is there's a dip here. When I dip, you dip, we dip. Also, I made a fumble. Earlier when I said this is like my skin tone shade, it's not. It's clearly a little bit lighter. Just gonna clarify that because sometimes people are like, you're not that light, okay? And I'm like, I wasn't okay, all right.
Now I'm grabbing this with my Sigma concealer brush. This is the F75, and I'm gonna be placing that here and then just going over, like she states, going over, working it out right underneath the eye.
Starting around the outside without swiping.
Oh man.
Never swipe your concealer. That takes the product on and off and on and off, and it also moves it around. No, you want to keep it exactly where you put it by patting it in. I haven't even gone up towards the immediate under eye area. As you can see, that area is still a little unblended, but I like to blend around there first, and then right before I'm done, I just do like 1 to 2 quick pats in that immediate eye area. That way I get the most amount of coverage. I remove as little product as possible. A clean sponge is gonna always give you the best finish and coverage, like guaranteed.
All right, so she covers exactly what I was talking about. The sponge does pick up some of the product, but like she says, is if you keep going, if you keep blending. If you do like 1 to 2, 3 taps, you're obviously not gonna pick up as much, but if you keep blending it out, the more you press, the more it's gonna absorb. All right, so everything is nice and lightly blended. Let's see what's next.
So as you can see, the under eye looks good. It looks corrected, but this ain't our final form, girl. I know you don't think we're anywhere close to being done. So after we've corrected, we're gonna switch to a highlight shade. So your highlight shade should be the shade that you're used to using underneath your eye. That's just lighter than your natural complexion. It shouldn't match your face. It should definitely be lighter.
Now, I usually would not highlight just because I feel like it brings focus to like the under eye darkness. I feel like when you use a highlighting shade on top of darkness, it's going to do the opposite of highlighting. It's going to just really emphasize the darkness underneath the eyes by turning it gray. However, since I've already gone ahead and I've applied a really heavy and very pigmented concealer underneath, you can hardly see any darkness. Like, you don't see any darkness right now at all. So I'm more than comfortable with highlighting underneath the eyes, because I feel like once you've completely canceled out the darkness, then if you add a highlighting shade, then that's okay.
We're gonna go in with Oma Beauty because
Now, I just recently bought this from Oma Beauty, and I think this is gonna be a pretty good highlighting shade for me. Yeah, should be all right. Should be good. So this one is in the shade Honey. So T2, correct? Yes.
really like the coverage of this concealer. Using the same brush, apply this right under my eye, again, starting right at that tear duct and ending it at the eye. This time, I'm gonna drag it a little bit lower.
Now this, as you can see, is not a highlighting shade for me. It matches me pretty close. And so all it's gonna really do is conceal my dark circles even more, which is fine. Now she does highlight the center of her face right here, her forehead, her T-zone, and her chin. I'm gonna do that with an actual highlighting shade for me. This is the Boing Cakeless Concealer in the shade, number 5. Shade number 5.
It's liquid concealer times, darlings. And what do we do whenever we apply liquid concealer? We never go in and blend immediately after. When you let your concealer dry down, and I know it really bothers people. To be honest, I'm not sure why that would bother you. I just noticed that if I don't immediately blend the concealer right after I apply it, I get more coverage. So I actually let it dry down like a lot.
It's true. It is absolutely true. I used to wait a while back, and I think it's because I watched one of her videos that just got registered in my head, like, oh, if you wait, it'll set and then you don't have to blend as much. I'm pretty sure that I got it from Jackie Aina. But I used to wait for it to dry a little bit and then I would blend it out. She's 100% right. It definitely doesn't lose, you get better coverage that way because you've applied quite a bit of concealer and then you let it set. When you're blending it out, you're not lifting as much, so you have maximum coverage underneath the eyes. So yeah, she's absolutely 100% right.
So now I'm gonna blend the concealer under my eye the exact same way I did the corrector, starting right at the edges and then working our way around town. Stop on the right foot, don't forget it. Look at how seamless that looks around I'm not even done blending yet. We're gonna correct again, basically double correcting. So I'm gonna take Truffle and I'm going to start blending that under my eye. This is my favorite, one of my favorite concealers is Radiant Creamy, but girl, this applicator, it's just easier to just put it on the back of my hand and then put it on with the brush because I'm here for a lot of things, but I'm not all the way here for that. And I'm going to apply.
She's right. The applicator on this is so bad. It is so bad. I'm going to be using the shade Biscuit, which I feel is a nice color correcting shade for me.
And I'm going to apply right under my eye. I'm not even gonna go down very low. If you're feeling like, oh, Jackie, I don't know about this. This scares me a little bit. I really don't want to look too orange or too crazy or whatever the equivalent is for your skin tone, because remember, this is a correcting shade. You can go right back to your highlight and you can just mix them in. So this is my highlight shade. This is that Truffle, the orangey-ish corrector. And you can just mix them both in and then pop that on top. The next thing you definitely need that you probably underestimated or didn't think would be a part of this tutorial is you need a contour. And the reason why this step in particular is important for the overall finish of the makeup is blending your contour.
All right, so I don't have a contouring shade for concealer, but I do have the Juvia's Place Multi-Purpose Foundation Stick. This one is in the shade Cameroon. So I'm just gonna apply a little bit of this. I usually do powder contour, but whatever. We're trying a lot of new stuff today. Why not? This is not much of a contouring shade. This is definitely gonna look more orange and bronzy, but whatever. We're just gonna go with it today and see what happens.
I'm
gonna take a blending brush. This is the Sigma F79. It is round, it's tapered. She's very thick. This is still drying down. While this is drying down, I'm gonna start blending her upward well into where we applied our concealer. Not all the way up here, just right around the outskirts, right around the suburban part of that under eye concealer neighborhood. We're not going inner city, we're staying suburban. And the reason for that is it just gives this most natural, beautiful gradient and transition from dark all the way to light. You see how I did that? Look at how smooth and flawless and seamless that looks. And we haven't even blended this out yet. So the same applies for the forehead. You're just gonna start blending. You're just gonna start blending all the way around the outside of where we applied our concealer. Not adding any more product. You just see how I'm just bloop, 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 like radar. And also don't be afraid to use the butt of the blender. Go right back over it. Bloop, 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 bloop. I didn't add any more product, but I'm just going around the edge of my concealer and I'm blurring that line. This is not me contouring my nose. I'm just blurring that line so that it doesn't look, do you see how this is stark here? We want it to look more like this, okay? Pat that towards the center of your face. So instead of going outward, go inward. Go inward. Oh, that sounded inward as in towards your eye. So that's actually outward then. This is inward. Anyway, this next step is highly optional and really just depends on how comfortable you are with this. And also tread very lightly. You don't need a ton of product to do this. And when I say a little bit, like, I know you see how Caucasian this shade is. Don't get extra, keep it cute, okay? You don't need a lot of it, okay? But what you can do is I'm gonna take a little bit of this and 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 a little bit of this, just under the immediate eye.
Okay, so she's mixing, which I have a lighter shade here. This is Ginger, which is a very, very light shade for me. And then this is Biscuit. So this is what I just used in order to correct the second time. So she's using both and mixing them like half and half, it seems. All right, and she said to take a little bit of this and 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 mix it.
I'm gonna apply that. That's it. That's literally it. Okay, maybe a little bit more. Now this right here, let's say I'm going to BET Awards. Let's say I'm going to a Vogue party and you wanna really look like you knew what the hell you were doing. You really wanna look like your life was put together? Do this step. I find this particularly helpful for the under eye dip because that light concealer is gonna create like a reflective shield, okay? So it's gonna camouflage it. If you don't have all 50 of these concealers I just used, practice with ColourPop. They have great concealers. The Maybelline Instant Age Rewind is also a great alternative. This is dried down for quite a bit. I'm now gonna pat this in. I'm gonna start by going twice down and then around my eye. And that's pretty much it. Then here, same, go twice down and then wide. Now this finish, flawless.
Okay, so she says, go twice down and around the eye. Okay, twice down and around the eye.
Sometimes I go back to my foundation. I know this is a lot of steps. I know. We discussed this, okay? Go back to my foundation and my contour brush. Just put a little bit on the back and in between where that contour was. Basically, you're applying this in the same places that you would highlighter. Just pat that in, stipple it in so that there's, again, a more natural diffusion between the two colors. There's no line demarcation. It just is blended, barely any product on my brush while doing it.
Oh yeah, that technique really works. You cannot see like where the concealer line ends and where the foundation line begins. Wow. Miss Jackie Aina, you know what you're doing. Yes, you do.
Finally, that is it with concealer. But however, the way that you apply powder is actually more important than how you apply the concealer, because do you know how many times I have perfected this mother effing concealer game only to put powder on top and fumble the bag? Don't be that person, and I'm gonna show you exactly how to avoid that. All right, so for powder, you don't have to worry about rushing to apply your powder like you normally would when you use just one concealer, because you put on so much. You put on so much that she ain't going nowhere, you know? But nonetheless, you're still gonna need two powders. I'm so sorry, you guys, but I'm queen of layers. I really am. One that matches your skin tone and then one that's lighter than your skin tone.
All right, so I grabbed two different powders. This one is from Pat McGrath in the shade Light Medium 2. As you can see, it's just like a little bit like my complexion, just a little bit. I don't have anything that like really matches me too well. So we're gonna go with this. And this is my lighter option. This is from Fenty Beauty. It is the Pro Filter Powder in the shade Butter, which as you can see, is lighter.
The powder that I'm using is Cashew from Fenty, and this powder is actually kind of beige, kind of neutral. And then the Laura Mercier medium dark powder is what I would use for all over face, which I'm gonna do first, and I'm gonna explain to you why I do that first.
All right, so I'm gonna use the Pat McGrath all over the face.
I'm going lightly over my entire face with this brown skin tone powder. I'm going to take a little bit of that brown powder, starting at the corner of my nose, because this is where I get oily. Then I'm gonna go under my eye. And this is kind of like a primer for the next powder, if you will. Sometimes that first layer, maybe you didn't apply it on the best. This, because it's brown and it's your skin tone, kind of prevents any mishaps or mess ups. Doing this essentially kind of toned down all of those colors we used under our eyes, and now this looks a lot more like my face, right?
All right, so now I'm going in with butter.
Using that same sponge, I'm going to go into Cashew with a little bit of powder, and even then, okay, look at all that excess that just came off. I'm going immediately under my eye. I'm gonna lightly press that in for a little bakage. The less powder you apply, the less powder you have to remove later. And we all know that sometimes when you go to remove the powder later, woo, it's not that cute. So just be really easy with this. Look at how flawless and seamless this looks. And it also doesn't feel heavy because we put on so little powder.
All right, powder is on, and you know what? She's right. It doesn't feel as heavy as I thought it was gonna feel. Honestly, it does not, because I was like, oh my gosh, it's like layer after layer after layer after layer after layer, and then another layer, but it doesn't feel as heavy as I thought it was going to. So she's right about that.
This is the Morphe M501. It's really not even that much bigger than like an eyeshadow creasing brush.
Okay, so I have this brush right here. This one is the High Cheekbone Highlighter brush from Sigma. It is the F03, which, I mean, is a lot bigger than my blending brush, but it looks similar to what she has. So we're gonna go with that.
Take a little bit of your setting powder. When I say a little bit, like even this is doing the most. Take your setting spray, spray the air, and then bring the brush into it. And then you can just barely tap, 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 tap. When I tell you I'm hovering over the eye, I'm barely touching it. It is a very light and minimalistic movement.
All right, so the rest of the time she just spends putting on her makeup. So I'm gonna put the rest of mine on and I'll be right back. Okay, so I am back, makeup is done. Now let me show you what this looks like up close. All right, so this is what the under eye area looks like. Aside from it looking just a little tiny bit dry to me, my goodness, wow. Can we say wow? Like, I feel like my under eye hollow is like completely gone. I am speechless. This technique of hers is ridiculous. It's so good. All right, so I could end it here, but I'm not going to. I'm actually going to wear this all day long. Now, it's not going to be a very long day. It's already 12:53, so perhaps I'll wear it for about like 6, maybe 7 hours, maybe. We'll see. But I am curious to see how long this holds up. I personally think it looks really great underneath the eyes, considering how many layers I actually have underneath the eyes right now. I don't think it looks bad at all. So yeah, I'm curious to see how long this holds up for. I'm not gonna do a check-in today. I'm just gonna wear this throughout the day and come back at the end of the night. So I'll see you all back here at the end of the day to see what this looks like after a few hours. All right, so I am back. It is now 7:06. So I've had all these concealers on for about, I wanna say like 6 hours. I am in shock. I am in shock. Aside from it looking just a little bit dry, everything is still in place, like locked in place. She was not wrong when she said that this was going to keep you going for hours and hours and hours. I thought that because I was layering so many products that it was just gonna move around and that nothing was gonna stay in place. Like, I really didn't think that this was really something that was going to work the entire day, but it does. It does. So let me zoom you all in so that you can see exactly what this looks like after 6 hours. All right, so aside from it looking a little bit dry, in my opinion, yes, it does look a little bit dry, the concealers have not moved around. Nothing has worn off. Everything still looks like it did earlier in the day. Like, I'm a little speechless. All right, so there you have it. Does this Jackie Aina technique work? Absolutely. Now, I don't know if it's her original technique. I mean, I've never seen anybody layer so many concealers in my life. So I'm assuming that she's the only one that's ever really done this. Like, so many different layers, different textures, different types of concealers on top of one another. I honestly didn't think that it was going to work. I thought it was definitely going to settle. I thought it was certainly going to separate. It was going to break. I just thought it was going to move around. But my under eye area stayed put. It stayed put. And I've been outside with the kids in the 93-degree weather. It has been hot, okay? We were out there for a while. I was having to supervise while they were playing in water. So, I mean, you know, we were out there for quite some time. I thought my face was going to melt. I know my nose certainly melted off. I'm truly amazed. I'm truly amazed. Now, will I be doing this every single day? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's very time consuming, and honestly, I don't really feel the need to apply so much makeup every single day. However, if we ever get back to normal, like normal life, and I have like perhaps a wedding to go to or a birthday party to attend or just somewhere to be where I want to be like really glammed up and I want the makeup to last all day, especially the under eye area, I'm certainly going to be coming back to this video and doing it again because wow, like wow. However, I think I might purchase like a lighter shade in the NARS Radiant because I feel like even with ginger, I thought it was pretty light. It wasn't light enough. Like, as you can see, it still looks just a little too orange. Now, did the concealers work? Absolutely. Nothing moved around. Everything stayed locked in place. But I feel like the shade just needs to be a little bit lighter so that perhaps it is just a little bit more highlighted than it was today. But yeah, my goodness. That was good. So that completes today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. I truly hope that you enjoyed today's video. I sure hope you did. It's the first time I've ever done anything like this where I'm actually following someone else's how-to, if you will, and I'm trying it out for myself. I know I sure enjoyed it, so I hope you all enjoyed watching it as well. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on future videos, and also don't forget to follow me on Instagram where I absolutely love to interact with you all. As always, take care, and I will see you all in my next video. Mwah! Bye.